All right, Gary, you're good. You're good. Keep going. Keep going. A little bit farther, and stop. Good job, bud. You're doing all right down there. Welcome to today's video, ladies and gentlemen, where I took some wise words from one man who said, speak softly and drive a big tank.
But you know what I always say, speak softly and drive a big tank.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing.
And we're going to take that philosophy in the brand new Battle for Naboo raid. In this video, I'm going to share my pros and cons of this new raid. Overall, I think this is a big improvement compared to the past two. And more importantly, I'm going to give you the best teams that you're going to want to have to get max score runs. There are 5 teams currently, 4 of which you should be able to hit max scores. So if you're ready to take on the Battle for Naboo, hit that like button. Salute a Gungan that you might see today, and let's get this show on the road. Let's quickly go over what I think the pros and cons of this Naboo raid were. The pro number 1, it was visually appealing, really cool cutscenes, love the environment and the way the droids would spawn into battle, love the space element that we're going to talk about. The raid is very intuitive, very easy to adapt to the key modifiers as we're going to discuss. I didn't need to do any stupid remods like the Endor raid. It wasn't nauseating like the Endor raid. I actually wanted to play the raid. Funny concept, wanting to actually play the game. How would you like the chance to win an Amazon gift card, a brand new video game console, or how about a round trip, all expenses paid to Mars and back?
Oh, we're not doing that last one. Wait, what?
Well, then you need to check out today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, come on, you know what Raid Shadow Legends is. It's only one of the biggest mobile games of all time. The reviews don't lie. From June 10th to July 10th, Raid is celebrating the summer with their Summer Tavern minigame. Download Raid using my link or QR code. Then go to summertavern.plarium.com. Enter your Raid ID and start searching for items where you can win a variety of amazing real and in-game prizes. And if you download Raid before July 17th, you can get YouTube Premium for free for 2 months. And I've been playing a ton of Raid lately, so be sure to check out my second channel to have fun videos like this one. Oh man, you picked Gallic? If you use my links or QR code, you'll get a huge starter pack right away with an epic champion, Tyrell. And after reaching level 25, you'll also get an epic Rector Drath. And all this treasure will be waiting for you right up here. And there's still a degree of auto ability that people sort of enjoyed with Endor, despite not liking Endor. At least you're able to auto and get about 70% of your score that you could have had compared to getting your manual. I think there's a degree of that here too. However, there are 2 big downsides and 1 mini one. Number 1, I think these battles take a long time. Maybe it's because it's our first day, but playing it on manual, the battles felt like they were taking 15, 20 minutes per attempt. And secondly, I want to go pull in and show you why I got another problem. Now, this all might be relative depending on where you're at in the game, but the problem that I see in general, a lot of people might not have the teams that take on this raid in an effective manner. I fear that going from Endor down to Naboo, I wonder if people are going to see an overall reduction in reward, because Endor is fairly generous with the characters you could use. A lot of people had Rebels and Empire and Ewoks at various levels. As you can see on my free-to-play account, even at the lowest tier, I'm kind of screwed. I really don't have one functioning team to take on this raid at any level. So this is probably the other big issue that we're going to have. And lastly, the minor drawback, I think, to this raid, similar to the past 2 that we've had, I miss the days of having an exclusive unit type. That was one of the core founding principles of the past raids that made them so exciting. Getting your Raid Han, your General Kenobi, your Darth Traya. That was one of the coolest incentives to play the raid. There's still an incentive. The Mark III currencies are tied to the new raid, so if you don't do this, well, you're going to miss out on all the Relic 8 stuff that you're going to need. So there's still an incentive, but it would have been nice to still see something iconic be paired with the raids, and they're still refusing to do so. So with those pros and cons out of the way, let's go show you the best teams for this raid. I think maybe the only team that people are going to be able to put together on average might be the Separatist team, and as we got notification by the developers yesterday, this might get nerfed. Most people don't have a Queen AMIDALA ready to go. A lot of people do not have LUMINARA Unduli up and running unless you got the Lightspeed bundle, or even Kit Fisto for that matter. Gungans still pretty new, and this is where the biggest drawback arises for this event. Now, before we get into the battle plans for each of these teams, I want to give you 2 overall pieces of advice, no matter what team you're going to be using. Number 1, when you're getting into your waves, when you see a wave of Droideka and waves of Staff, you want to take out Droideka and Staffs, then proceed to the B1 battle droids. Pretty simple. The second piece of advice, after every 2 waves, you're going to head up to space, which is a really cool little cutscene break, and you're going to get one of 3 special effects that you can apply to the battlefield on the ground. I think the most important one to worry about is the middle ability, which grants you the capability of disabling the Commander Droid's special effect. The Commander Droid, every single wave when it comes in, it's going to have one of a variety of different effects. And by far, the most annoying effect that you probably want to disable when you have the opportunity is the one where the B1 battle droid allows his army to take bonus turns after you take a turn. Otherwise, the other 2 effects you get in space grant just a variety of buffs, and you will likely be able to use all 3 of them. But the most important one is timing out the disabling of the leader when they have bonus turns. And I guess the last other tip that's just good to know, buffs are going to be so important for this event. Just keep in mind the Commander B1 droid has a buff this spell. So make sure you plan ahead. When you manage your buffs, keep in mind that he does have a buff this spell that he will use to slow your roll. But again, mild inconvenience with the teams I'm going to show you today. And other than that, everything else was pretty straightforward. Your usual modding should get the job done, and just embracing the kits the character already has and just understanding how to amplify them with the raid modifiers is going to be key. So starting off with the Gungans. They do great work, even without Jar Jar Binks. The Gungans have a faction modifier, and the most important thing to understand with their faction modifier is you're going to get a lot more plasma shielding just for using Gungans, and that's going to be another reason why the Gungans do well. On top of getting a variety of bonus turns, a lot of other buffs, but the most important thing, not to overcomplicate things, Gungans have a lot of survival to increase their shield generator's presence. We did a run with Jar Jar Binks and a run without Jar Jar Binks. With the Gungans and Jar Jar Binks on full auto, you're going to get over 2 million damage, assuming you're doing the Relic 8 tier. And again, these strategies are going to more or less apply to the lesser tiers, so you should be able to get a max score in whatever tier you're in, but there will be one caveat with the Separatists, as we're going to talk about. If you played the Jar Jar and Gungans on manual, you should be able to get your max score easily. Again, take the core principles I outlined and just do your thing, but if you want to put on auto, they're going to get a grand majority of their score. Now, we have the Gungans without Jar Jar, which I think a lot of people, if you do have Gungans, you probably don't have Jar Jar right now. Even without Jar Jar, the Gungans are still pretty solid. I was almost able to get a max run, 2.3 million, playing on manual. On auto, they couldn't quite do it seemed, but on manual, I was able to get 2.3 million by, again, following the key principles and just making sure I don't waste AoE abilities when there's only one enemy left. I think the main benefit of Jar Jar Binks is simply going to be being able to hit auto and let them get a big score. But I think you should be able to get a max score run even without Jar Jar Binks if you perhaps apply the Gungan Boomadir Omicron. Basically, with the Gungan Boomadir Omicron, the most important thing is it's granting another 10 stacks of plasma shielding to the shield generator, which means it's going to be around a lot longer. And anytime Gungan Boomadir uses Horn of Otogunga, it's going to replenish another 2 stacks of plasma shielding. So again, prolonging the shield generator. I feel very confident if you apply this Omicron, which, by the way, they decrease the cost by 10. So it's half cost compared to previous raid Omicrons. It'll help your non-Jar Jar team get a max score, and I think this also might be of value to people who have Jar Jar. I think if you throw on this Omicron on the Jar Jar Gungan team, I think you could probably full auto and get the max score. So it's mostly going to be a time saver and just trivializes the raid, making the Gungans a guaranteed easy win. However, do note, one day the Naboo raid will be going to the wayside, just like Endor, just like the Crate, just like the others before it. So this does have a limited shelf life of somewhere between 6, 7, 8 months before a new raid comes in. So likely we won't see a new raid till the beginning of next year. The question is, how much time do you want to save? All right, now the second team we tried out was basically your Lightspeed Bundle Jedi. For those that bought that Lightspeed bundle for $20 the other day, we can see, as speculated, that Luminara Unduli leading the Jedi gets you a max score as well. However, there are 2 non-negotiable things to get that max score. Number 1, it's Kit Fisto. Again, you would have picked up Kit Fisto through that Lightspeed bundle. Kit Fisto is, again, non-negotiable for this team, I think. And there's something that I think is semi-non-negotiable. I hate to add this on there. Luminara Unduli Zeta, which I completely forgot she had one, I think is going to be important. We have a before and after comparison. Special thanks to Jack Best Smith on Reddit for showing a before and after. The Zeta alone pretty much guarantees, it seems like, to get that max score a lot easier. Primarily because anytime an ally gains a buff they do not have, they gain a heal over time effect for 2 turns. Getting heal over times is going to be huge. The Galactic Republic are going to get a variety of buffs. Jedi healers and supports will get 50% max health. Jedi healers and tanks get 100% defense and 50% max protection. And very importantly, and this is why Yoda is going to be a big deal, Galactic Republic allies gain 10% defense penetration for each buff on them for 1 turn. This is why Luminara Unduli has to be in the lead, because she is a leader that is a healer. Then all of a sudden, you recover protection when they recover health. And there'll be lots of heal over times to help you out with that. Whenever a Jedi is critically hit, they gain critical immunity at 100 speed and reduce their cooldowns by 1, meaning more opportunities for example, Grandmaster Yoda to spread his buffs around. More opportunities to get Kit Fisto to get potency up. Whenever a Jedi ally gains heal over time, they have 50% defense. More heal over times with Luminara Unduli means you're going to survive a lot longer. And very importantly, when a Jedi has both heal over time and potency up, so Luminara and Kit Fisto really go in overdrive here, they have a 40% counter chance and deal true damage to all enemies when using an ability. Especially on the counterattacks, you're going to chop through these B1 battle droids. And whenever the allied Jedi healer uses a special ability, you dispel all buffs on a target enemy. So Luminara is also going to have a buff dispel, so keep that in mind when you need to take off, for example, the damage unity on droidicas. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to make the Luminara team work out and you're not seeing the score, the max score that you want to see, good chance it's because you don't have the Zeta Luminara and you're not using Kit Fisto. Now, as I mentioned here, you can put 2 other Jedi here. I use Shock Team Mace Windu. You can maybe do Plo, Ayla Sakura. What you really want to keep in mind, the skinnier you can make this team by not using bigger Jedi, the more you can put in the leftover Jedi team that we're going to discuss with, yes, Jedi CONSULAR lead. Some people are throwing Ki-Adi-Mundi in here. I don't think Ki-Adi-Mundi is necessary for Luminara to get the max score. I didn't need it. But again, you need to have Kit Fisto because he's got potency up, and you need that for that modifier that we just discussed. Grandmaster Yoda is going to spread a ton of buffs. If you don't have the Battle Meditation Zeta, what are you doing? You should have it already. You want Yoda to just go crazy and spread buffs like wildfire to jack up the damage that the modifier grants you. And then Luminara Unduli is your healer lead with heal over times, and that leadership ability, again, seems to be important. But again, try it for yourself. If you're not getting to run, it's probably because of those 3 reasons I outlined. Now next, the team that probably even more people might not have up and running is going to be your Queen Amidala team. Basically, your core is going to be Queen Amidala, Padawan Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon, R2-D2, and plug in a 5th member of your choosing that's not being utilized in the Luminara Unduli team. So let's say, for example, you're using Plo and Ayla. In the Luminara team, you can maybe put Mace Windu here. Caloran Beck is great too, but again, I would try to recommend saving Caloran Beck for later. So again, look at your roster and see what you can plug in there to get the best run possible. You could probably do decently well even without that 5th member, so you might be able to get away with decent scores with just this. Basically, the core principle of this team is just let Padawan Obi-Wan nuke out the enemy. Holy cow. When you let Padawan Obi-Wan ramp up through the modifier, which grants a ton of defense penetration with all the buffs they're going to be getting, and they're going to get quite a few buffs, you will not be getting those leader healer bonuses because Queen Amidala is not a healer. But again, it's very simple. As you go through the battle, you're going to see Sweeping Assault do massive amounts of damage, where I can pretty much nuke out at times an entire wave of battle droids. One of the more satisfying things I've seen in a raid. Not much brain power is needed for this. Again, not a lot of funny stuff going on. Pretty straightforward with the Queen Amidala. And then we have what I think was the crowd favorite, because this is probably going to be the more accessible team for people. B2 Battle Droid lead. Trust me, your tactic scanners are dialed in. You're seeing that correctly with Stap, Magna Guard, Darth Maul, and Darth Sidious. Now, this is going to take a little bit more explaining. Before I do that explaining, this is one of those strategies that does better once you're at Relic 8. So this one will be a little bit harder at lower tiers, but plenty of people have gotten the job done still. There's just one little difference. So for the Separatists, the bonuses that they are getting is, number 1, Darth Sidious' leader ability is going to be active and applies the Separatist ally so long as he's not in the leadership spot. So you do not want to use Darth Sidious in the lead. And the important thing that makes B2 Super Battle Droid key is whenever a Separatist ally is in the leader slot and they use a special ability, all Sith allies are called to assist. So that should explain why B2 needs to be in the lead. B2 is going to get the most turns on the team. And if he's in the leader spot, that means he's going to trigger this a ton and get Sidious and Maul to assist a ton and get the kills. But there's one more thing that makes this even better. And this is where having a Relegate B2 is going to be a lot easier than having a lesser Relic B2. This little clause right here. When the Separatists in the leader slot use this special ability, you decrease the enraged timer by 1%. I was able to hit my max score and still have a crazy low enrage percentage. And it's because of this. If B2 takes a lot of turns, uses his special ability because he reduces his cooldowns a ton, he's calling Sidious and Maul a lot more, and he reduced the enrage by 1%. This is only at the Relic 8 tier. Anything below, it will be a little trickier, but the core thing still works, and you should still get a very solid score. However, as I mentioned earlier on, CG is looking into this interaction. They haven't confirmed a nerf will happen, but it's on the nerf radar. And I'm going to urge CG to let it be. I miss when there was cool, creative combos that were fun and interesting. I feel like too much lately, we're stuck in cookie cutter meta. This really reminds me of the good old days of the old AAT raid, where there were things like Princess Leia, Commander Cody, cool things that goes against that grain of cookie cutterness. Also, as I said, this is probably one of the most accessible teams in the game for people to use here. Taking that away will get rid of a lot of goodwill that I think this raid has. Again, overall, I think the raid is great. It has its drawbacks, as we mentioned, but taking this away would really put a sour taste in my mouth and many others. So the reason I'm bringing that up, I would fear if you guys overinvest into B2 to take him to Relic 8, for example, so you can get the maximum benefit, and then they end up nerfing this, because if you're not using B2 lead, Darth Maul lead or Nude Gunner lead just don't work nearly as much. And maybe some remods for that will make it a little bit better, but by far it is nowhere near as fun and easy as this. And again, it's not like it's a bug, it's a glitch. We're just working within the rule sets that you gave us, and something cool and creative came out of it. How about you guys fix something else, like maybe your Invincible General Grievous, or maybe the Grand Arena leaderboards? You got other stuff you can worry about. I don't think this is a big deal. And then finally, the one team I was not able to get a max score run, I got an okay score, was the Galactic Republic Jedi Leftovers. So after you gave the Jedi to Luminara to get your max score, after you maybe threw a fifth member, if you have Queen Amidala, into her team, you can form one more team, and you want to use Jedi Counselor. I tried Caloran Beck lead, it was not nearly as good. The numbers didn't lie versus Jedi Counselor. And the leaner you can make your Luminara team, the better you can make this Galactic Republic Jedi team. So I use, for example, Caloran Beck, Kiadi Mundi, and I was almost able to get 1,000,000 damage. Maybe with remods, again, I did no remods for anything. Maybe with remods you can get a better score, but this could be the Jawas of this raid, where Jawas in the crate raid are just kind of like your last second team. They get a couple more damage on the board. Everything else should get you a max score. So I wouldn't sweat too much if you can't get Jedi Counselor to get the max score, but maybe with time, we'll get it to be a better team. And that's why I said I think we have 90% of the raid figured out right now. And just to remind you why you wanted to use Jedi Counselor lead, he is a healer, which means he gets this basically as his leader ability, being able to get all that stuff we outlined earlier, which is a lot more beneficial than Caloran Beck lead, especially getting the protection recovery when an ally recovers health. That was the thing that was really missing from Caloran Beck. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, overall, I enjoyed the raid. If you go watch my first impression of the Ender raid, I hated it pretty much the second I opened it. This, I enjoyed it. I wanted to play it. I was really interested in learning the mechanics and getting my max scores, 4 max scores in the first day and 1 with room to improve. And in general, the audience as well seemed to enjoy this a lot more than the Endor raid. But again, the biggest problem is going to be, did you buy the Lightsy bundle? Did you get the Gungans up and running? Did you farm hard in Queen Amidala's Conquest? And if not, you got only one team, and they're looking to perhaps nerfing it is the biggest drawback. So march on, soldiers! Help your fellow Naboonian battle for their planet to do whatever Gungans like to do in their free time. Leave that like, comment down below with your thoughts on the raid. And more importantly, be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And always remember, it's great to be in the Empire today. Gary, hit it! Woo!